Welcome to the sixth installment of my weekly podcast, Place in D. This week is kind of a interesting episode because everybody's been talking about the year of, fully being in COVID, the pandemic and whatnot. So a few of the topics today reach into that yearly mark. It's actually pretty crazy, where I know a lot of people feel like it's flew by, but then it's been incredibly slow. So it's like a mixture of both. But this feels like this will be a cool episode 6 of Place in D. For those that don't know us, a weekly variety, my 2 cents. This week will be probably at the highest level of my just chiming in my 2 cents on things. But that's basically what it is. Just me coming in here and in 4 segments. I call them, 4 quarters is themed, sports themed. So it's 4 quarters, 4 topics, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and the fourth quarter. And, some games go to overtime. So, sometimes that could happen here at Play Some D. But this week, I wanted to touch on the Grammys. At first, I was kind of like, but it's such a big event. I never watch, the caveat of mine, I don't watch award shows, but I'm aware of what goes on in all the award shows. And the Grammys being one of the biggest nights in music, and I think it is definitely warranted to talk about. And it's always interesting, regardless of the matter how bad or good or snubs or whatever. It's always interesting because it's the Grammys. No matter how many people want to boycott it or whatever. Right now, it's the tip of the iceberg, tip of the whatever, creme de la creme, whatever you want to call it, of music awards. So think about that. I'm going to fill out my bracket right here on Play Some D for NCAA tournament. Just obviously hitting that landmark of a year. Basically, college basketball shut down. This time a year ago, and they were running right, just going into, March Madness. So I'll also talk about COVID and kids. A lot of people are discussing the impact of COVID, the pandemic, and being at home, Zoom class and all that thing. I just want to speak on that. So COVID will be a COVID and children cycle, however you want to put it. That'll be a segment. And police reform. There were some interesting developments that came out from the LAPD this week, and I just want to chime in, talk about that for a bit. So those are the 4 quarters for today. I'm ready to get after it. I'm ready to get into it. So first quarter, let's play some D. Let's get it up on the board. And right now, I'm going to jump straight into the NCAA bracket. I wanted to start it off with fun, because I think it may possibly get a little serious near the end here. So I'm going to fill out my NCAA bracket. It was just a couple cool things that I wanted to point out. 16 just beat number 1 back in 2018, where UMBC beat Virginia. It's the only time that's ever happened. All 4 number 1 seeds have only advanced to Final Four 1 time. So don't put all your number 1s there. They're not all going. And this is the year where they're definitely not all going. The lowest seed to win a championship has been an 8th seed, and a 5 seed has never won the championship. So don't pick a 5 seed to win the championship. Hopefully I don't do that here. Because this tournament is going to be a bloodbath. Anybody gambling, which I will be one of those unfortunate souls that will be gambling on this mess. It's going to be a bloodbath for people that they gamble. The people that win, they're going to be doing some analytics up the woo-ha, because, man, it's going to be tough. But just some quick things. I just touched on the 1 versus 16. The 1 is 139-1. 2 first 15s is 132 and 8. The 15 seed has won 8 times. 3 verse 14 is 119 and 21. 4 verse 13 is 111 and 28. The 5 verse 12 is 90 and 47. So a lot of people like to pick 12 over 5, but it doesn't really happen that much. 6 versus 11 seeds is 88 and 51. 7 and 10 seeds are 85 and 52. And 8 versus 9s are about split, 69 and 71. 9s have won more times than 8s. But I found that all to be intriguing. But let's get it here. Let's get let me switch over really quickly here to. All right, so we got the bracket up, and I've watched most of these teams. Now it's literally impossible to watch every team, but believe it or not, just since the beginning of the year and a lot of the conference championships, I've tried to watch as much of these teams as I can. So for the teams that I don't, or the games I don't know about, I'm just gonna click this little I right here, and then I'm gonna make a pick. So starting in the West region, we're going in Zaga, obviously. This Oklahoma-Missouri game, I've seen Oklahoma. I want to go Oklahoma, honestly. I haven't seen much Missouri lately. So I'm going to Oklahoma here. And then this Creighton USC Santa Barbara is interesting because, see, I think Creighton will be ready to go after getting embarrassed in that Big East championship by Georgetown, which I think they feel like they should have played a little bit better. So this is tough though. UC Santa Barbara is definitely going to be ready to play. So I'm actually gonna take this 12 here. And I want to say the last time Ohio was here, I think was that 2014. Whenever last time Ohio was here, they were a 13 seed and they won this game. Last time they got into the tournament. But Virginia definitely gets this one done. I believe they win this game. Wichita State and Drake. So whoever wins this game, I actually think Wichita State wins this game, and then I do think they beat USC. Now, if Drake wins, I think USC beats Drake. I think USC matches up. I guess they figure they're gonna play Wichita State, which I think so as well. So I'm gonna take Wichita State here. I think I like USC, but they only got one guy, and you can't win with one guy. I'm going with Bill Self here. As long as they're healthy, they should get through this game pretty easily, I think. Oregon and VCU will be interesting, but once again, Oregon got embarrassed by Oregon State. They won the Pac-12 championship. I think Oregon will be ready to play. I believe Iowa will win that game against Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon what's interesting is that Grand Canyon, they're gonna fight, and I think they could have a chance to keep this one close. They, opponents points per game, and Iowa, they're not a huge scoring team, but they've been battle tested. So I'm going with Iowa here, as well as taking Iowa here as well. I'll take Kansas. They'll beat Wichita State. Gonzaga for sure. And this one's tough for me. This one's tough for me. I'm going to. This isn't going to be chalk. So I'm pretty sure I have something wrong here. But I'm not about to spend the whole time trying to figure. I'm not doing that here. I do think regardless of the matter, Gonzaga beats either of these teams. But let's just go with, for the Cinderella purposes, let's just go there with it. And then I do think Kansas comes here. Kansas and Gonzaga is we'll come back to that later. I do think Baylor comes here in the South region. I think Baylor thrashes Hartford. This is going to be the game of, I think they play on Saturday. I think these are the Saturday games. Does it tell us? Yeah, this one is tough. I'm gonna come back. Let me sit on that. I like Villanova. I think Villanova's doing well. Purdue. I'm just gonna go with North Texas. Just Purdue doesn't. I've watched them a few times. Just nah. Texas Tech. They're balling here. And then this game is gonna be just back and forth. But I think Arkansas wins there. I do think Texas Tech wins here. Florida and Tech. I haven't watched Florida in a long time. It really doesn't matter. I'm gonna take Virginia Tech. I think Ohio State wins that regardless. Then I'm gonna take Texas Tech here, and I do think Ohio State wins this one. This is huge here because I do think if North Carolina wins this game, they can possibly beat Baylor. They'll get rolling, but I do think Wisconsin gets this win, and I do think Baylor is better than Wisconsin, so Baylor gets that win. Then North Texas and Villanova. Yeah, I don't. I really don't know. I have no clue, but I think Nova is. Went through. Yeah, I don't even know. I like. Yeah. It's gonna be a bloodbath. I mean, these teams aren't gonna win. Like every game is gonna be such a dogfight, I believe. And then I'm gonna go with Nova because either way, I think Baylor loses. I think Baylor loses here, regardless of who they play. I think Baylor goes out in the Sweet 16. I just don't think they're good enough. I don't. And then Zag Ohio State there. Headed down to the East region, we got Michigan. They're going to beat either of these, the Mount. St. Bonnie and LSU. This is a crazy game because LSU has some ball players. And so does St. Bonnie, but I'm gonna take the 9 here. I think they're gonna get that win. Colorado here in Georgetown. I think Georgetown they've been balling, but I think Colorado battle tested with McKinley Wright Jr. I think he's good. I think they're gonna win this game. I do think they're gonna win this game. And then Florida State wins this game, I believe. And then that gets tough. This is interesting because Michigan State UCLA game is going to be another one of those right at your face early on. But actually, I think whoever wins this game does beat BYU. Actually, I take that back. I don't think that happens. But I do think Texas wins, and I think ultimately Texas wins this game. Then Alabama, and then I'm gonna go Connecticut. And this game is gonna be a good one, where I do think Alabama wins that one. Michigan's going down either here or there. One of these spots, Michigan loses. I just don't see them being able to hold it down. But just I think Bonnie might win that game, and then I think Florida State's probably just too big for Colorado. I think Florida State's win if Florida State goes here. And then I like Alabama. I like Alabama to win there. And then I like Alabama to win here. They're a really good team. Illinois, Georgia Tech. I think Oregon State keeps rolling. I think Oklahoma State beats Liberty. Oklahoma State probably shouldn't be a 4. So this Oklahoma State versus Illinois game is just that's probably the game I want to see the most there. Syracuse. I think San Diego State wins. I think they win. Rutgers and Clemson's. Houston definitely wins this, and I'm gonna go with Rutgers. Houston's gonna beat Rutgers, and let's go San Diego State. I really don't know who should win this game, but I think San Diego State. I've seen them suit up and they look good. But I think they win that, and I actually think they probably beat Houston. I just don't think Houston's very good. And this game right here, whoever wins this goes on, and I just don't think Oklahoma State will have enough. I think Illinois wins, and then we go here with it. And then got 1 versus 2, 1 versus 2. Yeah, and I think we end up with the I think the Zags. I think the Zags do go undefeated. I like Illinois. This would be a heck of a repeat of what we just saw today. And I think Ohio State would have a really good chance to win that game. But I think we'll go Illinois. And I do think Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga wins that. So that's me bracket. That's me bracket. So yeah, I think it's just gonna be a crazy it's gonna be a crazy tournament. I think it's gonna be exciting. I think it's gonna be a bloodbath. I just picked mine here without doing. I haven't watched really any of the analysts talk about it or anything like that. So that's just what, if I went back through it and combed it a little bit more, that's kind of just off the top of my head. 1 versus 2, 1 for 2 doesn't even sound right to me. But that's what I go through just looking at the teams from what I've seen with my eye test. It does make sense that those teams should win those games, but I do think a lot of them will be close. That's probably what'll matter to me. Who cares about a bracket? What'll matter to me is betting those games, and I think a lot of them will be close. So I'll try to bet accordingly. To that spread and how that works. That's really what I'm thinking about. But let me not drag on with that bracket. I just want to do that one. That was fun. Let's take it over to quarter number 2. And in quarter number 2, I believe, yes, it is. We're doing with the 2021 Grammys. So I'm just going to run down, just once again, like I mentioned at the intro beginning, this is really just my 2 cents episode. This podcast episode, just my 2 cents. I'm just chiming in. I'm just stuff I'm interested about, and I'm just pretty much every week though. That's what it'll be. This is the gist of it. But we'll start with I'll start at the top with a record of the year. Billie Eilish, Everything I Wanted. Got that. Beyonce's Black Parade, Black Puma's Colors, The Baby Rockstar, Say So with Doja, Don't Start Now with Dua Lipa, Circle with Post Malone, and Savage with Megan and Beyonce. Everything I Wanted is probably the right song. Dua Lipa is probably right there. I think that's if I could guess what was second, it had to be Dua. I think that was probably the second song that could have got record of the year. It was either one of those two. But Billie Eilish makes a lot of sense. Album of the year went to Taylor. Folklore. I didn't even know Janae Aiko was nominated, but that's dope. Black Pumas was here. Coldplay's Everyday Life was here. That was a pretty good album. Dua Lipa's album, Post Malone's album. I don't think those are albums of the year. I did listen to some of the Taylor's. Taylor's good. And, the Grammys love her, so she's going to get that. Song of the year went to Her, with I Can't Breathe. It's kind of just representative of the year. It's just a fair song to give it to. Billie Eilish was there. Dua Lipa was there. Post was there. Taylor had a song, Roddy Ricch the Box. So, not mad at that. Best New Artist went to Meg Thee Stallion. Noah Cyrus was here. D Smoke, Doja, Kaytranada, Phoebe Bridgers. There's a lot of people that I just feel like the Grammys is so late on new artists. I feel like Meg is just definitely not a new artist, but against the other people that aren't really new artists either. K Tornado is definitely not a new artist, but that dude is incredible. But Meg makes the most sense as far as like popularity contests, so that makes sense. Best pop solo performance with Watermelon Sugar, Harry Styles. It's a great song. Justin Bieber's Yummy was nominated. Billie Eilish was nominated. Don't Start Now's out. Yeah, Watermelon Sugar's dope. It's a good song. I'm not mad at that either. Best pop duo group performance, Rain on Me with Lady Gaga and Ariana Grande. This is I definitely have a Dynamite BTS. That's a song. I think that should have won here. Best traditional pop vocal album went to James Taylor, American Standard. I actually didn't hear any of these albums here, so I'm gonna go past this. Best pop vocal album, Future Nostalgia with Dua Lipa. I thought this was a good album. Changes with Justin Bieber was a good album. Fine Line with Harry Styles was a really, really good album. But it's vocals. I don't know if Dua Lipa has vocals. I probably would have gave this to Harry Styles or maybe Bieber. Best dance recording, 10%, K Tornado and Kelly Uchis. That was supposed to win here. Both of us, J to G. Best dance electronic album, K Tornado, Bubba. Great album, incredible. Disclosure Energy was good. Arca Kick Eye, I wanted to listen to it and I didn't, so that might have been really, really good too. Best contemporary instrumental album, don't listen to instrumentals. That went to Snarky Puppet. Best rock album, don't listen to much rock stuff. Shamika, Fiona Apple won that one here. Big Thief, they are dope. Actually, I'm wrong about that. To listen to Big Thief, and they're really good. Best metal performance. This is why I don't listen to metal. I don't listen to metal. Bum Rush by Body Count. Nah, I don't know what that is. Best rock song, Say Hi by Brittany Howard. Best rock album went to The Strokes, The New Abnormal. Best alternative music album with the Fiona Apple and Fetch the Bolt Cutters. And the Slow Rush by Tame Impala was on here. That was really good. I really enjoyed The Slow Rush. That was really, really good. Best R&B performance was Black Parade by Beyonce. I think that gave her 27 Grammy, which I think is the most, something like that. They love Beyonce, they love Taylor. Taylor will probably eventually beat her out in the long run. Lightning and Thunder was Janae Aoki and John Legend. All I Need. I didn't hear that song. Best traditional R&B performance. Let Us See, Anything for You. Wonder What She Thinks about Chloe and Haley. I'm sure a lot of people wanted them to win. Distance by Yeba. Best R&B song was a Robert Glasper featuring Her and Michele Neghiocello. I got all that wrong, but they won that. Another Chloe and Haley were on here as well. Beyonce's Black Parade was this here too. Tiana Major and Earth Gang Collide, didn't hear that. And Slow Down with Skip Marley and Her. That's a good song. Best progressive R&B album, Thundercat, It Is What It Is. That was a good one. Free Nationals. This was a tough category. Janae Aoki was in it. Chloe and Haley's Ungodly Hour was in it. Free Nationals was this is a progressive R&B album. I'm not sure what's different between that and R&B, but John Legend's Bigger Love got the best R&B album. Best rap performance went to Megan Thee Stallion and Beyonce for Savage. It beat out Deep Reverence Dior by Pop Smoke. Bigger Picture by the Baby was Poppin' Bop by the Baby. Savage was the biggest song of these songs. As far as performance wise, maybe it is the best performance because What's Poppin' definitely not. Maybe the Bigger Picture. It's probably between that and the Bigger Picture. It's probably the best performance in my opinion. The best melodic rap performance was Anderson .Paak with Lockdown. Highest in the Room was here. Laugh Now and Cry Later was on here. Don't know what melodic rap performance is. That's got to be a new category. That's weird. Best rap song went to Savage. The Bigger Picture with Baby the Box by Roddy Ricch. That's probably what was the contender here. Laugh Not Cry Later with Drake was cool, but it wasn't as big as Savage. At least while Savage was hot. I don't know, maybe it was. I'm not sure, but I think the Box and Savage was probably neck and neck. Either one I would have been fine with. Best rap album went to King's Disease. Was Nas' album. I actually thought that was a pretty good album. But I think most people would have probably been more satisfied with Alfredo, Pretty Gigs and Alchemist, or The Allegory of Royce the 5'9". I think one of those two probably. I mean, those were the three battling for that, and I'm sure all those guys wouldn't have minded if any of those guys got it. So that's cool. Best country solo performance was when my Amy praise was Vince Gill. Country duo group performance 10,000 Hours by Damp and Justin Bieber. Bieber got another Grammy. Brothers Osborne, Old Dominion, they're dope. They're really dope. Best country song with the crowd table, The High Woman. Miranda Lambert was in this. Old Dominion was in this. Best country album with Miranda Lambert, Wild Card. Lil Big Time was in this. Nightfall. I bet that's a good album. She should go back and watch that. I mean, let's watch that. She go back and listen to that Little Big Time album. Best New Age album, More Guitar Story by Jim Chemo West. Best Improvised Jazz Solo, All Blues by Chick Corea, soloist. Best Jazz Vocal Album, Secrets Are the Best Stories, Kurt Ellings featuring Danilo Perez. Best Jazz Instrumental Album, Trilogy 2. Chick Corea, Christian McBride, and Brian Blade. Best Large Jazz Ensemble Album, Data Lords. It's an orchestra, man, that's probably dope. Best Latin Jazz Album, 4 Questions by Arturo Alfarelli and the Afro Latin Jazz Orchestra. Probably crazy. Probably sound incredible. Best Gospel Performance Song, Moving On by Jonathan McReynolds and Mala Music. I don't see anybody on here that I know of in this gospel category. I don't listen to much gospel, but Best Contemporary Christian Music Performance, Zach Williams and Dolly Parton. There was Jesus. Dolly's been all over the news lately. Kurt Franklin's in this category. Best Gospel Album with the PJ Morton. Best Contemporary Christian Music Album, Kanye got this one with Jesus is King. Album was awful. Best Roots Gospel Album, Fist Jubilee Singers. Best Latin Pop or Urban Album was Bad Bunny. I don't know who's going to beat that guy for the next however many years. Best Latin or Rock Alternative Album, Fido Paez. Best Regional Mexican Music Album, I'm Not Going to Destroy Natalia's Name. Best Tropical Latin Album, Grupo Niche. Best American Roots Performance was John Prine. Best American Roots Performance was John Prine again. Best Americana Album, Sarah Horzett. Jaros, I'm messed that up. Best Bluegrass Album, Billy Strings. Best Blues Albums, Bobby Rush. Folk, Julian Welch. Bunches of Reggae was Totes and the Mayatals. Burner Boy got Best Global Music Album, Twice as Tall. I probably should listen to that, baby. Probably good. Best Children's Album, Jonah Leeds. Best Comedy Album, Tiffany Haddish. Tiffany Haddish got a Grammy. Bill Burr was on there. Jim Gaffigan. Jerry Seinfeld. Wow. Best Spoken Word. Best Musical Theater. Yeah. So Grammy's got a bunch of more stuff that I don't. Historical Album, Engineer, Remixes, Producer of the Year went to Andrew Watt. Andrew Watt, he does a lot of stuff. Non-classical. Producer of the Year is David Frost. What else looks interesting here? Best Music Video went to Brown Skin Girl. Oh, Beyonce. Beyonce got another one. Blue Ivy got one too. Brown Skin Girl. St. John Wizkid was in that. Life is Good. Lockdown. And Adore You by Harry Styles. That probably could have won too. But yeah, so the Grammys was looked like performed in a little secluded spot in Staples, I believe. So it was dope that was able to happen this year, and congrats to everybody that won. But I just wanted to touch on it. Like I said, I didn't think anything I don't think much of the snubs, and I know the Weeknd and I think Nicki Minaj and some other artists, the whole boycott thing. But as long as the Grammys have power and majority of artists support it, and the public recognizes it as the gold standard, it always will be. So I don't know when that'll change. So as long as it's the case, I'll be talking about it. There'll be discussions about it. And people will love to see their Grammy trophies, whether Kanye trolls peeing in one or not. So that's the Grammys 2021. And yeah, let's swing right through halftime and jump over into the third quarter. And I labeled it COVID kids, but it probably shouldn't be that. It may sound a little weird, but really, I've just had multiple discussions with people about the pandemic and kids, because I do think the statistics, multiple statistics are in with adults, and we turned to computers and we got bigger and lower self-esteem and less sex and all those different things. Sure, those happen for adults, but adults can work through it. I do think overall, excuse me. Overall, I do think adults can work through their issues. I think where we have the capacity to be able to work through it. Nose itch like crazy. But kids, on the other hand, you really don't know how this will affect a very large portion of the spectrum of kids. I coach basketball, and I talked to some of my kids. So I hate to say some of my kids. I've talked to high school kids, and it sucks. I mean, in just the aspect of just sports itself. A lot of kids last year and then this year lose that, and that's big socially. And then seniors, that's all social stuff. And for some kids, for maybe it's a small portion of the kids, the popular kids or whatnot, they're still hanging around their friends, and they're still getting social. The social, I'm not sure, I can't think of the word, but they're getting that social impact. They're talking to kids, they're hanging out, they're doing good stuff. But then there's a whole other group of kids, those kids that sit in the back of the classroom or don't really want to talk, or introverts, whatever you call introverts, whatever you call them. They sit in the back of the class and don't really talk to people. And I think, it could definitely affect them, because even though they're not speaking to people, they're still have the possibility to engage and do things. So just in that manner, in high school, once again, they're closer to adults, and there will be more. They'll probably want to go to college even more and attend classes and kind of pick up where they left off. So I do think the higher age high schoolers will be all right. The middle school kids, they may have some bumps in the road, especially jumping right into high school. That could be tough. It's already hard jumping into high school as it is. So that this may, hurt some of those kids. But it's probably the little kids. I saw a video making its rounds on Twitter today, or TikTok, whatever. A kid, not sure if it's true, but you gotta be skeptical of all the videos. But why wouldn't it be true anyway? A baby, first time being outside the playground, just like, whoa, like I ain't never, because when you're little, your parents, you get to the playground when you still on the stroller. You still looking up and seeing, you get that eye test, like you remember it, like, oh yes, I hear other kids, I hear, I've heard this sound before, I've felt this wind before, I'm familiar with this. It's some familiarity, so you're not that shocked, not that shell shocked. But some kids are 1 year old, literally 1 year old, just now coming out the house. Like, what in the world? And some of those kids can talk and walk and understand stuff. So it's like, what? So I do think the smaller kids that understand stuff, it may have somewhat of an effect. But there's multiple studies with psychological effects that people believe, ADHD is here in this article. Friends, basketball team, yeah, all that stuff. It'll be interesting. But ultimately, my take on it is that I do think proper parenting and understanding from parents and adults in general, I do think the transition can be made easier. Now, if it's made difficult on the kids, then that'll be a whole different story. Like if you're expecting kids to just snap out of it like that, then you're probably wrong. So the sensitivity that us adults need to have for children and kind of paying attention to some key things that can help, some kids that don't transition out, or maybe they're going too fast into it, or I don't even think it's definitely not that. But the kids that may be having a hard time, parents, adults, figures in their lives should be able to identify that and help them move through that. So at the end of the day, we look at it as a year. Yes, a year. And yes, it is a big deal. And kids are still, in Zoom classes. And this, some kids won't go back to school this year. So they'll technically miss a year and a half of schoolish. But overall, that's not really that long of a time. It's not like we've been stuck for 5 years in the house. It's not like, you've been hibernating for that long. And then with social media, there is some good with it, because kids have still been interacting. So even those shy kids, in some way, shape, or form, if they have social media, they have been interacting in some way, shape, or form. So they're not just like left in the dark with like what trends are going on, or what's the funny joke or the hot meme. So some of those things you still will be able to catch on, just maybe slower for some of the shyer kids, and some of the more aggressive or outgoing kids may jump the line in that aspect. But I do think overall, my take on it is that I do think overall we do overcome, because I do think people will be gentle to the situation with kids, and I think exceptions will be made, and some of the rule bending and things of that nature, especially getting kids back into school and then kind of getting them into social things throughout the summer. And then us adults who are involved in it, like me, myself, I'm down for the cause of being there, helping kids, and getting everything back rolling. So, and so I have a title here, COVID Kids, but it's just really, like I said, the psychological effect of those age groups of kids and what will happen to them. Now, there's obviously more things where what I'm saying, maybe say, oh, Coach, you just talking about it as, everything's just glossed over. Yeah, because I do think it's not that bad, but it could be that bad. So only time will tell when the shades come off and everybody gets outside. And then if you're looking over at kids and you're just like, they're that far behind, like that really happened, like they're going to college and have no idea what's going on. Like you see that big of a drop off, then yeah, we have a problem. But I don't. There's warning signs that could possibly be the case, but I really don't think so. But I do think in the grand scheme of things, I think socially, I think that's the biggest thing for your growth, your growth as a person. And I said with social media, I think it helps, it makes things worse, but it does help in some aspects. If we didn't have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and things like that nature, and nobody really had contact outside of like text of specific people, I think it would be worse. That's just my take on it. So only time will tell. But for the kids that are back in school, I hope adults are taking care of themselves, obviously first and foremost, but taking care of the kids, looking after the kids, making sure they're good and going in the right direction. So that's my take on that. And for the fourth quarter, I feel like I don't want to be long-winded here, and I think I may come back. I'm almost positive at some point I will revisit this topic. But there was some interesting reports that came out from the LAPD this week with the George Floyd protest. Just a litany of missteps, and there's multiple sites you can read it in detail. But I was listening to some journalists and whatnot talk about it, and I guess they were like taking people to undisclosed locations and dropping them off, and I guess a certain amount of ammunition is like missing, was checked out, and not just so many wild things. It's just like it was shadow teams of undercover cops embedded among protesters with no effective way to relay intelligence back. So it's like a chaos of command, so nobody knew who was in control. And then there was like minimal training for these people, and they used hard foam projectile weapons, poor detention conditions for arrestees amid pandemic, inadequate tactics, neglect the reforms that have been agreed upon for the past 2 decades. And I think that's probably really where I want to talk about it is reform. A lot of people say, defund the police. I'm not sure if it's not a defund the police thing for me. They've been talking about reform, and this says these agreed upon reforms that they didn't demonstrate at all, that they agreed to but didn't demonstrate for the last 2 decades. So everybody talks about reform, but the cops are at the top of the food chain in terms of law enforcement. So they don't have to reform. And you can say you reformed, and even though you don't, I mean, to this day, body cameras still don't get turned on. Like, oh, I thought I turned on when it wasn't turned on. It was really just something to put a Band-Aid over the issue, to say, oh, they got body cameras now, so now we can see what's happening. This still doesn't matter. Reform doesn't change anything. Defunding the police won't change anything. You'll still have the same cops in there with less resources, which means they won't do anything to really help anybody. They'll just make sure they get their paycheck. So I've always said, at some point, and my take may be worse for most people to believe, but you literally got to tear the whole thing down and start over. Nobody wants to hear that, because nobody wants to do that. But it's absolutely necessary. Like, it's at a point now where you need to build a whole new infrastructure, because if something else was this bad in the country, if any other organization, if sports sucked this bad, or a company, a bank, anybody, if anything was run this poorly and destroyed, I don't necessarily say destroyed, but just was so negligent consistently, everything would be gutted and started over. But there's so many different police departments all over the world, you can't pinpoint them. So it's just the ideology of a group of individuals with so much power, and then there's really no check on it, because money gets involved. But that's a whole different conversation. So I'll probably come back to it, but I don't really want to go that deep into it. But my original point was, like I said, the reforms. I just don't think they'll do anything. Defunding won't do anything. You just got to start over. Everybody literally has to start over. How you say, yo, D, how would you do that? How would you go about doing that? You destroy it all. Now we don't have police in the streets for a week. No, that's not how it would technically work. Smart minds, and I won't toot my own horn here, but if you gave me if you gave me that task to do, I'm pretty sure I can do it decently. To say, if we started this thing over, this is, you would put in steps in place to start this thing over. There's a lot of cops out there that would love to be adequately trained, not have to deal with LAPD I'll just stick to LAPD and the Sheriff Department of Los Angeles in not having clicks, and it's just a bunch of things of that nature. You just don't want that in your police department. You want police to go out on police. You don't want them to kill anybody really ever. But let's just say, for the sake of the argument, unnecessarily, and be able to de-escalate situations. Sure, their lives are on the line. Yes, but if they make a mistake, they have to understand that you got to be held accountable for it. It's not that hard to redo. But my take will never happen, because nobody wants to do that. It takes America forever to do anything. We can't build high-speed rails. We can barely get infrastructure approved. Freeways take forever. So you can't imagine that you could, across the United States, restructure the police. It would freak people out. Like, oh, who would I call? And you could break that down, obviously, into communities and neighborhoods where you have, appointed before you even start that process. You can appoint security or however you want to do it. It can be done. But police unions and things of that nature, it's a long story. But obviously, like I said, back again, the title of the fourth quarter, police reform. Just don't think it ever works, and this is a prime example. And even across the country, have some reforms work for some police departments? Sure. And saying goes, the sun shines on a dog butt some days too. It's true. Sometimes you get some good stuff that works. It happens, but far and few in between. Here, it's just reports from people where it matters. We've just come to a point in the country with police that it's just not in a good space for law enforcement, for people that enforce the rules to be just this disgusting, in my opinion. So will it ever happen? No. Will a lot change? Probably not. It'll be a slow grind into 2100 with robot police. That'll actually, that's probably what'll change it. Some kind of unbiased robot police that actually does the job that they're programmed to do, unless they're smart enough to take over their systems and wipe everybody out, like some iRobot stuff, something like that. But no, that's exactly when it would change, is if we got robot police. So it's just an institution now that is backed by cash and power, and people that don't want to see it change for obvious reasons. But this was actually what I expected. I didn't think the report would come out. It's another thing with reforms and transparency. You don't see this. Like, I'm actually shocked these reports actually came out. It's cool to see, except watching it on the news, watching multiple police presence all over the country during those protests. You're just like, they're doing scumbag stuff. And I'm sure some of them were pissed off, and I'm sure some police got, some scumbag stuff done to them too. But when you're, you literally, as a cop, it's the ultimate of the saying, you have to be the bigger person. I mean, that's your job to do that. But neither here nor there, like I said, I felt like stuff like this was going on, and it came out, and it ultimately it sucks. But hope for better days for police reform. But that was fun. I enjoyed that. All of that. But thanks for watching. Forgot to mention at the beginning of the video, please like and subscribe. Weekly variety show podcast. This is episode number 6 of Play Some D. Thank you again. Stay safe. Be cool. And until the next one, I holla.